Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to episode 8.
Episode 8.
Wow, we're almost to the double digits.
It's 2 months worth. That's what popped in my head right away. That's what I had. That's what
I'm glad one of us is like decent at math because it's not me.
I think I'm a little off actually because could we start over? I forgot to go into hair and makeup. If I could just go into hair and makeup.
Serious. I thought you were being serious. I was about to jump up.
It felt very dirty, but the whole 2 months worth thing. So I was trying to.
I'm trying to cover his face or whatever.
Something like that. Yeah.
We're all friends here.
We are. We're all well. Let's get Muppety people. Let's. Thank you very much for joining us for another episode of What the Muppet.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. We super appreciate you guys tuning in all the time and just. We're all friends here, like I said.
The feedback we've gotten on this already has just been a blast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Shout out to my good friend Christine. She watches every week, and we had our Pathfinder like D&D session last night. No, 2 nights ago. And she was like, I love watching it every week, and who's it gonna be? And it just made me light up inside. So thank you guys so much for all of your feedback and nice compliments, and yeah.
Since you had a name, I have to mention my friend Seth, and partner in radio.
Oh, yeah. I know Seth.
Always mentioning, always giving me feedback. We appreciate you, brother.
Yep, you're a good guy. Seth.
Yeah. You know it.
Yeah. All right. So I picked last time, so you get to pick out of the Muppet Quote or Fact Hat. What was it gonna be? I can't remember where we're at with quotes and facts. Like
I think we finally evened out. I
Okay.
think it's neck and neck right now.
All right.
So let's see what the tiebreaker is here. I also see what I do? I unfold them like the wrong way. I always do that. You couldn't try to do that.
It's a 50-50.
It is. And it's a quote.
Oh.
Oh. And do you want to know who it's from, or do you want to hear it first?
Let's hear it first.
Yeah. I really do believe that all of you are at the beginning of a wonderful journey. As you start traveling down the road of life, remember this. There are never enough comfort stops. The places you're going to are never on the map. And once you get that map out, you won't be able to refold it, no matter how smart you are. So forget the map, roll down the windows, and whenever you can, pull over and have a picnic with a pig. And if you can help, never fly as cargo. Jim Henson.
Well, of course it's Jim.
Yeah.
As soon as you started reading, I was like, that's Jim. It's gotta be.
I don't know anybody that talked like him.
No, yeah.
And as somebody who not only talks weird, but talks for a living, like that's a big impact. That's a big influence to be able to see somebody be able to pull that off.
Absolutely. He just has some kind of like poetry, whimsy, magic, like sewed, like weaved in between his articulate words, and it's just so admirable. And like we mentioned in the last episode, he's just like a quote machine without even trying. Like I can't imagine being around him, like I guess like day to day, like he's not gonna just be spitting out like Shakespeare quotes and stuff. But I feel like it'd be the smallest things or the way he looked at something that would just make you be like, huh, maybe it's not so bad. Or
the simple moments, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the most groundbreaking thing that's happening, but you're working on something and maybe you're running late or you're in a pinch and he says something kind of thing. I could see that.
Yeah.
The quote itself is such a good spirit of him too. The idea of, because what I get from that is being in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's something I think that's something that since I was a kid I've struggled with.
Yeah. Especially in like today's society. I mean, I'm totally guilty of it. There's so many distractions and projects and people and
I don't think, you guys are still kind of getting to know us here and everything. I can be a little serious, and and I think that comes across. I think a lot of people that had that serious kind of like soul, if you will, struggle with that. And then to see where we are, like you were saying, in society right now, where most people struggle with that.
Yeah.
It's nice to keep in mind, you know?
Yeah.
You get a chance, stop, have a picnic, maybe with a pig, Don't fly cargo if you can help it.
If you can't help
It's good to have a seat on a plane. It really is.
I like too that this is kind of transparent to, like in almost every Muppet movie, they're on a road trip. They are going somewhere.
Huh.
And I love how that is embedded in this too, and just having an adventure when you can, and that adventure doesn't need to be like super grand. It could be a picnic or you're flying somewhere.
I gotta be honest, I don't think I realized that every movie, you're so right about that.
Right? Yeah.
Like, I didn't
Just
realize
about.
that. Wow.
They're always going somewhere.
I didn't
Yeah.
think of that. That's cool.
Well, this is a great quote to
That's a
start
really
with.
good quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great start. Thank you, Mr. Henson.
Thank you, Jim.
As always.
Yes, you took the words out of my mouth. All right. Well, oh wait, we have to do the Muppet list.
That's right.
Yeah. I
Oh,
was
okay.
about to pick out of the hat before we
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I am drawing a blank.
Already?
Yeah, drawing a blank right away.
Okay, how about we try to like ping pong?
Yeah, that sounds
Okay, Marvin Suggs
good.
was our first.
Marvin, and then Janice? No. It was.
Go on, you got it. You want me to give you a quote?
Yes.
No, it's cheating.
No, I was just gonna. It's bugging me because
I'll
I
give
just.
you a
I
hint.
was, please do.
It would be a really big drum.
Oh my god. I'm the mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't say his name normal.
No.
We cannot. I don't care if we're in the most serious discussion ever. We cannot say his name normal.
No, I don't think anybody could. So, Marvin, Animal, Lips.
That's what it was. Lips.
Yeah.
Lips. Then it was it no Baker? No. It was
Yep.
it was Sweetums.
Yes.
It was Sweetums. Wow, I thought Sweetums was there. Okay, yeah. Sweetums.
And then Ralph.
Yeah. Then Beaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Zoot.
Yeah.
And now we're to the present.
Yes.
You did good.
Oh no. I did not deserve that, but I'll take it.
Well, let's see. And we haven't had a Muppet movie yet. I always
That's
say that like
right.
every episode.
Yeah. One of these days.
Yeah, one of these times. I always grab two.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Oh, I still had two. Okay.
Next episode, you wait your turn.
Yeah, let's see. Oh my god! We finally have a movie!
Hey!
It's the Muppet movie.
Oh, perfect.
The first one.
The first one.
Oh my gosh. Wow, and we like I just said, we haven't had one yet, so we don't have like a...
Yeah, we don't have a way of doing this really.
No, not really
this
like a
is-
format.
Yeah.
Well, first off, did you like the movie?
Did I like the movie? I think real quick that it's the first movie we pulled. It
And
being
it's
the.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Oh.
That is just too dang cool.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
That's
Yeah. That's kind of the phrase of the show. It's almost the tagline
Thank
of the show.
you,
Thank
Jim.
you, Jim. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it isn't that I like the movie. I'm still in love with that movie.
Yeah.
It's still like when we first started doing this, I didn't have the time to sit and watch like a ton of footage or a bunch of movies or anything. So I went back and watched some scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was even attempting to do that, I didn't even know where to begin because there's so many that flooded my
Yeah.
brain. So I thought, well, I'll start at kind of the beginning with the movies at least.
Mhm.
And I watched Kermit singing on that lily pad, and it just I spent the next I think 3 or 4 hours just down a Kermit hole of a Muppet hole
Yeah.
of just interviews with Jim Henson, and that's that one I sent you with him on the Tonight Show,
Oh, yeah.
and watching old bits with the celebrities and all those kind of things. So
Mhm.
I did go back and watch a little bit of the movie. It holds up.
Yeah.
It's so cool to say that for a movie in 1979. I think.
Dang, you did get the year right.
Oh, I did. Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's weird. I was 2 when that movie came out, and I know that I saw it a little bit around that 3-4 age. I don't remember, but I know because my mom and dad were big Muppet fans.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it's something I didn't know, I think, either.
Yeah.
I was telling them, actually, before coming over here to see you, I was telling them what we were going to do today, and I was explaining the podcast a little bit more to them because they're still learning what podcasts are and everything.
Wow.
And they are big fans. My mom and dad actually were way ahead of I think a lot of people with the Muppet thing because they saw them on SNL, and my dad is a sucker for kid adult things. You know,
I can see that.
that kind of and so I think it was just tailor made for people like him.
Mm-hmm.
And then for it to see it like be turned into something that his kid could get into, and therefore he could watch it as well and enjoy and have fun and laugh at stuff. And he was telling me how him and I really liked Fozzie, and he used to call me Gonzo, and I didn't know. My dad had like 80 nicknames for me when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Yamo was the big one, and to this day he will not tell us what Yamo means, where it came from. I'm not even sure I want to know anymore, but Gonzo was one of the things he would call me. I didn't know that. So I think that not only does the movie hold up, but its fans stayed with. I wonder how many people to this day still watch Muppet movies because of that first one and what it did for them. Even if they haven't liked anything since, I wonder how much they do.
Yeah, truly. And because this was the first movie that I was exposed to the Muppets with too, and I can't remember like the first time I sat down and watched it, but like it just the whole movie feels like it imprinted on my heart instantly. And like you were saying, it speaks a lot to just the Muppet universe in general. If your fans follow you throughout, like even if one of the movies was like, oh, not my favorite, but I love the Muppets, they just still love the characters, and it just speaks so much to the heart that's in each of the characters. And even if the movie wasn't that great, not this movie, but like a different one, it's still like I don't regret seeing it.
We talked about this with our newest friends, the guys.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things that came up that I thought about was for me like The Simpsons. That's my favorite show of all time. And even when I get a new episode, even if there's only like one or two jokes, I laugh at it. I'm so happy I got those one or two jokes. It's a new episode. For you would not know this, you and your younger generation. But that's how Star Wars was for us growing up. Like we had those first three movies, and then it's kind of like, here's a holiday special nobody wants, and that's it. That's all you get. Like here's some toys, and that's all. And I think that that's part of the reason why some of my generation, even if we get something that's Star Wars and it ain't that great, give me more. Just keep it coming. I don't care. I will take in all the Star Wars I can get.
That's a good comparison.
With this, I think that there wasn't that dive, that dip. There was constantly new stuff, or they were recreating the Muppets into a new universe. And I think even if you extend this into Sesame Street, the Muppet characters, or not so much the characters, but the puppeteering has still grown and still has a life. That was another thing that I thought was pretty impressive. Even when, if we expand and look at some of the movies that J.J. Abrams has done recently and all that, not recently, but in the last 10, just Star Wars stuff, bringing puppeteering back. That's so darn cool. That art hasn't died, that our art has still got a long, healthy life ahead of it, as far as I can tell as an outsider.
And it's gone into kind of mainstream too, with like the Dark Crystal reboot and everything. And I didn't finish the season quite yet, but I started it a little while ago, and I was so impressed with just like how advanced it's gotten. And already when I watch the Muppets, I kind of forget I'm watching like puppets, because I love the characters. But even in that fantasy setting, I was just so immersed in it. And at least for me, I kind of forget that they're like puppets and they're like other people down below who are doing everything.
If it can happen to Johnny Carson, it can happen to us.
Right, yeah.
One of the things that I love about the original movie, that I think that even if you are a grown adult and you have no children in the room and you're going to sit and watch this, it's such an interesting, they've never done anything like this before. This movie was the first of its kind, where the main actors were Muppets. That the filming, how you film these scenes, how am I going to hide the puppeteers? What angles am I going to use? How am I going to do this sound-wise, where the sound is, oftentimes coming from a different angle or something. Do we dub it in? Do we, all the little things that they had to learn, and you watch, we just recently watched one of the most latest productions with the mansion and everything, and seeing that from the first one to there, it's cool to see the evolution. It's cool to see the things that they've learned and the improvements they've made. But what I find even cooler is that some of the stuff they were doing in '79, they're still doing in 2000s, in 2023 and all that. That's wild to me. That's
like
pretty
they
cool.
were ahead of their time.
Yes,
Most
yeah.
definitely.
No, and they set the standard. Where, is there ever going to be a day when we're talking about puppeteering and you're not, Jim Henson isn't the benchmark?
Right.
Or the Muppets at least aren't at least the benchmark, which is pretty cool.
It's really cool, that this one company and starting with this one guy who obviously had a lot of help and support, but that they could just create this whole, like you said, standard bar. It's amazing.
So I know we got to figure out how we use this and these, but I do want to go down a side road for just a quick second. Can we appreciate your sweater?
Oh,
that rocks. That is so cool. That is a great sweater.
For those of you who aren't watching, it's a Nickelodeon sweater with the classic Nickelodeon characters on it, like Rugrats and Hey Arnold and Cat Dog and the Monsters.
The Rainy Steepy.
Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, it's very comfy.
It's
thank
very
you.
Cool.
I don't know if we pick out of the hats for a movie. I think that maybe we talk about our favorite parts, if it's one of our favorites, any stories we have attached to it.
Yeah, because it doesn't really work when you let the movie play your bachelor party. It doesn't really work that way.
Maybe I'd play it during the party.
There you go.
Yeah. When Matt, my fiance, and I were first, getting serious and stuff, he knew that I liked the Muppets, and he was like, "Oh, I think my dad will you and him will get along because, he likes the Muppets." And I was like, "Oh, great." And when I met his parents for the first time, I don't remember how it came up, but his mom mentioned that his dad, the only movie he'll watch, because he's not a movie guy, is the Muppet movie.
Oh, wow.
And I, in all of my glory, just blurted out, "Did we just become best friends?" And that was the first time I've met them.
That's so great.
Matt and I had been dating for 2 months, so I was like, "Well, here we go."
That's a check mark. That's definitely something your father would do. Yes. I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry.
Thankfully, we're here where we are today and everything. But and it's such a wholesome movie too. We, as the four of us, watched it. Maybe it was last year or so. We all watched it together, and it just never fails to make you feel cozy and just happy. And even maybe the plot is, I don't know, all the plots center around they don't have funds, or they're trying to get famous again or something.
I like the idea of that, because I think there's a relatability with it. I also think I don't know the proper way I want to say this, but that's why we need writers and pay attention to the writers' strike, and we support the writers and actors. It's a little selfish of me, a little biased of me, since I am a SAG member, but I will say that when it comes to a lot of the Muppet fan base, I don't think you have a ton of the 1% in there, if you will.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the fan base of the Muppets from the very beginning are your middle class, are your downtrodden, are your people that grew up, quite honestly, like we did. And I think that with that and the storyline being something that is relatable, it's really one of the things that I don't know if it was the intention or not, but almost everything about the Muppets is about relatability.
Yeah.
Is about us being able to relate to them, and them doing the things that we relate to. That and there's something so human about that with puppets.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
that there's a mirror kind of thing going on oftentimes. I mean, you have that with art in general,
Mhm.
but with this, it's so much more. There's something about it that hits home. There's
Yeah.
something about it that really catches you.
It always centers around friendship and love and acceptance, and maybe that's like the human aspect of it, is that we all just want to feel connection, a genuine connection.
Speaking of connection, I was trying to. I don't think I'm connected to your internet. I was going to look up the movie because I was going to just to make sure I remembered everything.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure if another thing we could do is describing what goes on in the movie.
Oh, right.
You know, for those that may have not seen it.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people listening are certainly going to have a reference of any of the Muppets we have. I don't know if they're going to know all the movies.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea, going over the plot and stuff.
Yeah,
It's a good memory exercise as
that
well.
That too.
So I think we open on the swamp,
Mm.
and Kermit is, I think he's on a log or a lily pad, like you said, and he's singing with his trusty banjo, and then like a producer or somebody comes in a canoe, and they're fighting off an alligator or a crocodile.
Such a great opening scene. It's one of the better openings to a movie, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so you're like, who's this humble green guy?
Yeah.
And then he mentions that he works in Hollywood, and Kermit should try to like get into Hollywood or something like that. And he's like, oh, I don't know. I'll think about it.
Great Kermit impression. We need more of that.
Please. That's very generous.
Much more of that. It's the origin story.
Yeah.
It's the origin story.
Right,
of the
how they all
Muppets.
found each other, and
I never really thought of it that way before, but it truly is. It literally sets up everything that's followed. Like you don't have to. It's almost like the Batman thing where nowadays if you make a Batman movie, you don't have to. Yeah, his parents died. Yeah, we know that already.
Right.
Like, yeah, you can flash forward to whatever's next. It's kind of like nowadays when you see these things, nobody explains how do the Muppets get here? How do they have a house? How do they? No, we found that out in the first one.
That's
We found
a
that in
good
the first
point.
episode.
It's like the cornerstone of all the other movies.
I think I've also superheroed my brain too much. I think just
Nothing
seeing
wrong with
that the connection with other things. But it is kind of the origin story of Kermit and his family and his team.
Yeah, you're totally right. On his journey to Hollywood, he picks up the other Muppets. I think him and Fozzie meet first.
Yeah.
And there's this kind of like a B storyline going on with an enemy. The guy with like the frog legs franchise.
I forgot about him.
Right, yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Frog legs.
Yes,
Commercial.
Oh, who's the actor?
I can't remember off the top of my head, honestly.
It's gonna drive me crazy. It is going to drive me mad. Before the end of this episode, if I have not already lost,
You're just gonna scream it out.
Whatever brains or sanity I had will be gone.
No,
It'll just poof
it's gonna be
gone
fused.
because I'll be trying to figure out who that actor was. I'm losing my actor card as we speak.
Oh no!
But it's such a great introduction.
Yeah.
And it does, and it's such a great way to introduce all these characters. Hey, we're driving down the road. Look, there's Fozzie. I've got a stand-up comedian with me now. You know, we need a piano player. There's Ralph. You know.
Oh, and I love the song that Ralph and Kermit sing in the bar when Miss Piggy kind of ditches Kermit for a call or something. The can't live with them, can't live without them.
There's another beginning too, where we see the beginnings of Miss Piggy and Kermit.
Yeah.
And that love story.
It was love at first sight for one of them.
Yes.
And I love that to this day. Even the most recent movie, it's Kermit is cold flippers, and it's just.
I'd love to be able to ask, you know, them when they were coming up with the dynamic there, why they did it that way, and what were their intent, if there were any intentions, if they I may be overthinking it, I don't know, maybe they just thought it was funny, but it feels like for forever the idea was doing the stereotypical relationship in a certain way, where the almost honeymooners kind of characters, and this is a very different dynamic than that. It's a very, she's the not only the boss, but she's head over heels about him, and he's a little hesitant, where it's usually kind of the guy that's head over heels, or I don't know. The dynamic's interesting to me, and
Yeah.
I like that it's never really changed too much.
Yeah, I like that too. I think that he, like, Jim and his creative crew were obviously visionaries. So maybe they wanted to do something a little unconventional.
Yeah.
And it's also a good way to keep the audience like engaged, because you're always wondering like, when are they gonna get together? It's the big question.
That is the Sam and Diane kind of thing.
Yeah. I wonder if there'll ever be like a Muppet wedding movie.
Yeah. Ooh, that's that might be like kind of like when the that might be jumping the shark moment. Like I don't know. It feels like something that's been pitched in movies, in studios and stuff, and that they haven't done it already. It tells me something. I don't know what, but there's something there.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely like one of those staples to their, like, the Muppet Crew's whole story, because I don't know, like, you always want to have something like, this character wants this, and this character has this internal conflict, and that's what makes you connect to them. So if that is taken away, what is it replaced with? So maybe they want to like keep it.
Yeah. I do have, and you can go ahead and use this. Just give us a little bit of credit for it, or producer credit or something. They're gonna get married. The moment comes where, if anybody has any, now is the time to speak. And George Clooney comes out.
It's gotta be George Clooney. And
it's Clooney. Miss Piggy, I'm in love with you. I've always been in love with you.
Right,
and Miss Piggy and George Clooney run off, and it's a very, that is the conflict. And Kermit trying to get her back, or woo her back, or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Or what if it was that? What if it was Miss Piggy is tired of Kermit not being as in love with her as she is with him?
Yeah.
And there's an idea too.
I mean, rightfully so, honestly. It's been decades.
I do love the idea of George Clooney and Miss Piggy at the back of a bus, like at the end of the graduate.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're definitely going to Paris or something. Actually, I see like a lot of chemistry with them. I think it would work.
George Clooney, are you trying to seduce me, Miss Piggy? Are you trying to? It's good. I don't know. I think there might be some there. Go ahead and use it.
You are correct.
No, I think that might be a bomb. I think that might bomb. We'll watch it. They sold 2 tickets.
Yeah. I think the closest we've gotten to like them getting married is, I don't know if you've seen the Muppets Most Wanted yet. It's like
that's the one of 2 ones that I haven't seen. I believe. Yeah.
Oh, then no spoilers.
I will watch that one soon. I better get to it before we get to it.
I know that there's like a mixed feelings about that movie, but I'm a big fan. It's really made me laugh. But we'll get into that when we pull it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite parts in this movie?
I think the introduction to Gonzo is certainly one of them. You were referencing another one with Ralph and Kermit's song, but it's really not just my favorite moment. I think it's one of my favorite moments in movie history is the intro, is the beginning. What we've already talked about. I know that doesn't probably make good audio, but if I'm answering honestly, I really do think it's one of the better introductions of a character, introductions of a movie, and for the audience, whether it is in 1979 or today, it's young kids watching this movie, and it's their introduction, not just to these characters, but to, in some ways, creativity, and freeing your mind, and being able to turn a piece of cloth into something.
Yeah.
Turn a word into something, turn a sentence into something, turning anything into something, turning a blank canvas into something. They're doing that when they're watching this. Their brains are sponges, and they're seeing this, and it's such a good timed scene too. You have a moment where you are introduced to Kermit. He has a moment where he's kind of got the spotlight and he's singing before the comedy. Before not just comedy, not just a knock-knock joke or a punchline, but a different style of comedy. You can almost say darker comedy in some ways.
No, yeah, definitely.
If there is a version of kids' dark comedy, like
that's it.
It's kind of it. And for those of us that like that kind of style of comedy, that's something too. And that's an introduction to that. All I've ever seen is knock-knock jokes or very kid jokes or whatever. Here's a little bit more of an introduction to a different type of humor. There's a lot of styles of comedy out there. There's a lot of ways to make people laugh and not everybody laugh at the same things. Here's an introduction to that.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of something that you mentioned with like Kermit having his moment and everything. I like that each of the Muppets that get introduced in this movie have a moment that represents kind of like the inside of them. Because with Kermit, you get this tranquility and you're like, oh, this is what his life was like before he got tossed into all this Muppet nonsense. Yeah. And with Miss Piggy, like she's trying to be like, or she wins the pageant.
Yes.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Oh no. Well, that's
we're gonna get canceled. So she's like she's, you know, the beauty queen and everything. Gonzo's with Camilla and he, you know, their cars collide or something, so it's chaos and so everybody gets their moment that is like solely them, and it's actually really brilliant that they do it that way because they don't even need to explain the character and they don't have to like spoon feed it to the audience. Yeah. They're like, this is who they are.
Imagine, and I want the audience to play along with this too. These are your characters, and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I got all these amazing characters, and I've got a Hollywood company telling me that I get to make a movie. How am I going to introduce these guys? How am I going to do this? Like, this is the way to do it. It's a perfect blueprint of that. Even if you are doing that with your own, if you have a different thing that you're writing or doing and you're looking at a way, how do I introduce all these characters? How do I begin this? It gives you that. It really is. I wonder too if that's part of the reason why that's such a running theme of travel with the Muppets and picking up new characters and how to introduce them.
It's definitely their style, yeah.
It's so well done. It's such a perfect blueprint of how to do that.
I agree. And I love all of the music and the songs that are in here because it also just speaks to that poetry that Jim Henson laces in his work. And one of Gonzo's parts, when they're in the desert in the van, I think the van's like broken down or something, so they can't get to, or maybe it's not the van, the car. So they're like stranded in the desert.
That,
yeah. And Gonzo's singing that song, I'm going to go back there someday.
Yeah.
And just like the little, not like a squeak, but like how his voice is when he sings. And there's just something so like childlike almost, and just maybe not childlike, but not naive, like pure.
Yeah, pure. Yeah. Pure is good. I was going to say, no, pure is a better word. Yeah, I think that's it.
And that's where that quote that I mentioned in the other episode, there's not a word yet for old friends I just met. Yeah. That's where that's said. And not to go on like a tangent, but in that same desert scene, Kermit kind of goes off on a walk and he's like doing this inner dialogue thing where he's talking to himself. Yeah. And he says something like, I didn't promise anyone, but I promised me. And I just thought that was so powerful, even as a child, like picking that up and thinking like, well, I don't need to, like, I don't owe anyone else anything, but I owe it to myself, to be myself, to follow my dreams and stuff.
In doing that, you're able to do more for others.
Yeah.
And I think that you learn that through Kermit in some ways, whether it's subconscious or not. Kermit is the almost ultimate leader. Yeah. Like, he is such a great leader.
He really is.
He is not seen that way. Maybe people don't pick up that right away. But I think that if you're paying attention, to me, real leadership. I've never known a good leader that said, "I'm a leader." Like, they just do it. They're just a leader.
They're called to it.
And they take on things that they don't need to. They go above and beyond. They put their family first, their team first. Yeah. But they understand that in order to do that, they have to take care of their own backyard. They have to fill their own cup. They have to, and Kermit's kind of in that moment talking about that. Yeah. And I don't know if we really ever see that again in him. And it might have been, again, deep thinking and maybe a deeper dive than it needs because we're talking Muppets.
We created a whole podcast about Muppets.
Good point. That he never had to have that again because he did it in that moment. He had that time where he realized that, and there going forward, we see a Kermit that understands that about leadership, that understands that about being the kind of MC, the band leader, all those things.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
I think we touched on some very inspiring moments, some funny moments in the movie. I can remember we had this movie on VHS, and I think I was in like 4th grade, my sisters and I, we were, watching the VHS tape, and we were just dying at the part where Miss Piggy goes like karate on all the bad guys to save Kermit. And when she like turns around and her eyes are super big, we were just geeking out so hard. I think we rewound that tape like 10 times because it was just so funny to us, and it just wouldn't get old. And when she jumps off the balcony and just that entire scene is just gold.
So good.
So good.
I think one of the selling points for me about the Muppets has always been those moments, like you were talking about early on, making this full circle now, where you forget that they're Muppets, you forget that there's puppeteers. Yeah. There's so much of that, and at the same time, there's Muppets where there's moments where it's like that, where they just throw the Muppet over a balcony, and you just see it fall. And so you're completely brought out of that and brought to just the reality of the situation. Oh, it's just a puppet, that. And it makes it that much more silly, funny.
It's another fourth wall breaking without addressing it.
And it's as lovers of that, it's such a cool thing to be able to pull off. It's so awesome.
One of mine and Matt's favorite parts in like any Muppet movie is when they throw the Muppets.
Yes, same here.
I think it's in the Muppet Caper. They're like thrown out of the bus while it's moving, and they just see all of them actually thrown.
You can actually almost imagine the puppeteer or somebody just tossing them. There is, I don't know if you watched it growing up or not, but to me, one of my favorite shows growing up was Married with Children.
I've heard of it.
It was the first of its kind. There was never a show on TV for like middle class and poor people. There was always the Ozzie and Harriet stuff and everything. And it was before, I don't know if it was before Roseanne, but it was around that time. I know that the two had come about. I think Roseanne was after, but I'm not 100% on that.
The main actor, like the father, he was in Modern Family.
Ed O'Neill.
Too?
Yep.
Okay. Just want to make sure I was thinking the same one.
Kathy Segal,
I like her.
A lot of great actors from that show, and really kind of a groundbreaking show in some ways because it really went the opposite direction of Ozzie and Harriet. It couldn't be more opposite than that. And I think it really helped people see that they didn't have to be perfect. Not that they didn't already maybe know that, but you didn't see that represented on TV. You didn't see non-perfect families, which, spoiler, we all are. We all come from. You saw a little representation of that. Yeah. There was something that they would do on that show where if like Al or somebody fell from the top of the house, it was just a dummy. It was just a dummy they dropped, basically. And it was so obvious that it was fake and everything, but it made it that much funnier. Yeah. They could have had a stunt guy doing it, and it would have been half as funny, not even a quarter as funny as that. I'd love to know if they were influenced by the Muppets for that.
Yeah,
I'd love to know, because it's so parallel. It's so much like how they did it.
I love that comedy.
It's good stuff.
This entire movie was just perfect to start that Muppet movie universe.
Couldn't have asked for it better.
Yeah,
thank you, Fate.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and all of the guest stars that were in this movie, amazing.
That was another reason why I wanted to pull it up. I wanted to make sure to reference every one of those stars, Steve Martin and all the other great people that were in it. Because I think for somebody who, even at that age, or by the time that I'm conscious of seeing the Muppet movie, I'm conscious of acting. And that I want to be one. I'm at least 7 at that time. That I'm starting to create those memories and everything. Maybe a little younger, but when I'm rewatching it at least. Maybe not the first watches, but the rewatches. I'm watching it as somebody who wants to be this, wants to do this for a living, for a life. It's my passion. Yeah. And seeing those kind of actors doing that and incorporating. It was the early days of me dissecting and studying these guys. Yeah. There are a lot of good cameos.
It's just a movie that won't get old.
No, great. Oh, that's the way to end this. I think that's the way to end up.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for our first Muppet movie.
Yeah,
wow, I wasn't expecting that.
And maybe as we go along and we grab other movies, we'll have a different blueprint of how to do this. But I like that. I think it went good.
Yeah, thanks for bearing with us.
We'll keep this one. We'll keep this one.
We'll keep it. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Before we go, I know we did have some notes we wanted to touch on.
Yes, we did. So if you're listening on Spotify, every episode has a question and a poll embedded in it. And one of the reasons why we wanted to create this, besides talking about the Muppets was to connect with other Muppet lovers. So we would love to know what you think, and if you follow us on Instagram, sometimes we have little polls and questions and silly videos on there too.
You gotta follow it on Instagram. It is a must follow. You do such a great job, and she deserves 100% of the credit on that stuff. You do an amazing job with that.
I do also create some memes that are very silly.
No, everyone gets it.
Niche. So if you want some of that fun, be sure to do that. And once again, we'd love to know your questions or your answers and stuff on Spotify. And even if you're listening on YouTube, like shoot a comment of something that you would have said differently, or your answer to a question, what you thought of the Muppet movie. We would love to know.
You can get in on the ground floor of this. I mean, this is only going to get bigger and bigger, and you could be one of the early. I was listening in the early days. I don't know about any of that, but I do know.
In any case,
we appreciate every one of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And like I said, if you want to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at What the Muppet Pod, or shoot us an email, look at the show notes for all those details. And just thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we'll catch you next time.